when a person is charged with an offence, they're given bail if they are appropriate for bail. And that is a term that you've got to turn up at the court on the given day, and the whole purpose of bail is to make people turn up for the trial. So when a person is charged, before the case is heard, they're put on bail. Now, this is much misunderstood. Bail is not punishment. The purpose of bail is not to punish, because the person hasn't been found guilty. The case hasn't been heard. They haven't been convicted, or they haven't pleaded guilty. So bail is not to punish. Bail is to get people to the barrier, get them to court. That's the purpose of bail. That's why they often have to put up a house or money or some other surety to ensure they get to the trial and don't shoot through. Often you put on terms on bail, such as you have no contact with the victim, you don't try and stalk the person, you don't try and interfere or get rid of proof. Often put terms on bail. Sometimes you refuse bail, often with drug addicts. They just repeat offenders constantly, and bail might need to be refused to stop offending until the trial is heard. Murder, you normally refuse bail because of the heavy nature of the offence. But it's all designed to get the case to court. It's not designed to punish. Then when you've had the trial, as we've just reviewed, and the sentence is imposed at the end, that's when punishment comes in. When you are found guilty or have pleaded guilty, that's when the punishment comes in. And at the very end of the punishment, you've got parole. Again, a hot topic now and often misunderstood. The purpose of parole, say if you gave a person 10 years jail with a minimum of 7 years, that means that you can't get parole for the first 7 years. You are then eligible parole from year 7 to 10, and the sentence finishes and the parole finishes at year 10. You're not automatically entitled to parole. You have to be given it, but you can be given it after 7 years. So you've got to serve 7 years in jail. You may then get parole in those 3 years, 1, 2 or 3 of those years. The purpose of parole is to seek to reintegrate the prisoner into the community. When you think about it, it would be very difficult after 10 years jail or 15 years jail to come out cold turkey into the community with no supports, no housing to go to, no job to get, no blood testing to see whether you're on drugs, no support services. You'd be straight back to jail. You'd fail. But the purpose of parole is to give people support services, limitations, discipline, guidance, so that they are reintegrated progressively into the community, to give them a much better chance of not re-offending. A very valuable function, parole, much misunderstood in the media. Of course, parole needs to be properly funded by government. You can't be a parole officer for 100 people every day. The system needs to be funded. And of course, sometimes parole should be refused. Sometimes there should be very strict conditions on parole. And if people breach conditions, they should go back and start again. So it needs to be properly administered. If it's administered slackly, and we've seen some very slack, tragic cases, if it's administered slackly, it's a bad system. But the idea is a very productive idea, good for community safety because it helps people reintegrate and not fall back into crime. If it's done well, it's good. If it's done badly, it leads, as we know all too well, to tragic results.